I'm really happy to be talking to you, Eric, today. Could you please introduce yourself and what do you do for business?
My name is Eric Logan. I work for a company called American Luxury Coach and Techstar Automotive.
How do you deal with customers' minds?
Um, we're a custom manufacturer, so we try to help them decide what they want. Once we clarify what they want, we build vehicles that are custom for the customer.
Isn't that difficult? Like each customer has his own view, has his own preference. What do you
Yeah,
do with that? Yeah.
part of how we deal with it is we have to reduce the amount of customization that we do. So we probably do more than any other company. We've been doing it for 45 years. We're the oldest bailment pool in the United States. But part of the process is to reduce. You can't have unlimited options because otherwise nothing ever happens. So we have to limit what we do to a certain number of options. So many wheel options, so many tire options. I don't own the company. I'm just a manufacturer's rep or sales director. So I help with people that are having, or customers that have concerns about the company or about the product or about me, because ultimately those are the three things that are important to customers. So we service the product that we sell, that I'm somebody that's trustworthy, that they can do business with, and then also to make sure that we're providing a quality product. So that's difficult, but at the same time, it's rewarding.
You say it's difficult, but it's rewarding. Why is that?
Because you're able to help people that need something that's different. So the products are unique. They're not cookie cutter like a lot of products that are offered by dealers in the United States. So we have a little bit of flexibility as far as what we do to the vehicle. We don't have 100% autonomy. Nobody ever does, but you're able to do some things and work with vendors that maybe are on the cusp of becoming major vendors for the manufacturing companies. We're almost like a test bed for products that are going to be built later. We've done special projects in the past for companies that require certain specifications, whatever the case may be. So the quality control that goes into making sure the product works properly, making sure that the customer's happy, making sure that we deliver the product in a timely manner, that we have something that's marketable, that helps ultimately employ both customers and then the end user, whatever the end user is doing. There's lots of different industries that use our products. So from construction to food service to you name it. It runs a complete gamut from floors to, we also run the whole country, from one side of the country to the other. So I've sold trucks in my career from West Florida to Homer, Alaska, from Fort Valley, Maine to San Diego, California. So I've been everywhere in the United States. I'd like to expand, but we have to see. I know people have done export permits in the past, but that's a process that has to be looked at. I get requests all the time now for build our product in other places in the world, but we have to work within the parameters of the guidelines that we're providing. So it's rewarding in that you know that you're able to sell. I'm a grandfather now. I have 5 grandchildren, and I'm able to deal now with second and third generation owners. Sometimes the son or the grandson of a guy that I did business with 3 years ago. There's a lot of pretty cool.
So, can you take us through the steps of designing a customized vehicle?
Well, I'm not the design guy, so the design stuff would have to happen. Maybe if you want to do interviews with those guys, I'm the guy who does more of the sales and marketing part. So I'm involved in the design process, but I'm not the guy who designs it. So pretty much I'm just the design process is done in such a way that we basically look at it and say whether we think it'll work or we think it won't work. So, that process is not something I'm done.
Yeah, Eric. So how do you take the vehicle or the car from the paper to the ground?
That's once again, we use multiple vendors. So sometimes it's designed by a company will have products that they design that go on our product. And then it's done, the sourcing is done through multiple channels. So it's not, we don't produce or design the majority of the products. We just agglomerate or put them all in one position, put them all together.
So let's go to the end of the chain. How do you sell a car?
You really don't. You make sure that they're in stock. That's something that the customer never buys anything they don't already want. Not rocket science. It's very simple. We build things that are exciting, that customers see that are different. Customer that wants something different, doesn't want cookie cutter, sees the truck and says, wow, that's neat. And that's what they want to purchase. So it isn't something we do necessarily. It's so much as we provide the vehicle and make sure that it's available and on the dealer's lot and prominently placed, and that we keep making products and partnering with vendors who create exciting designs. So when we find something we like, we believe in it, and we sell it, dealers are distributed to our distributor, to dealers, and the dealers then sell it. It either works or it doesn't work. The ones that don't work, we don't repeat. The ones that do work, we try to work more with those vendors. So it's not, there's no magic to it other than the magic is in the team, the way that different team works together.
What are your favorite automobile brands? Why?
Say it again.
Yeah, what
My
is your favorite automobile brand?
my personal favorite is probably going to be a GMC truck or a Ram. I like both those. I started in the Ram. Of course, I used to call it Dodge back then because it's the first one that I ever did, because that's the department I was in for the longest amount of time. Still my favorite. But the new Chevrolet products are dynamite. So I'm pretty pleased with them. Here in Egypt, and so if you look back at the history of Chevrolet in Egypt, there's quite a few nice cars that were built, Egyptian versions back in the 40s and 50s before I was even born. So when you look back at the history of the company, I'm proud of that particular brand, and that brand's been a big part of my success. So, and it doesn't matter to me. They transition. Sometimes Ford does well. Sometimes GM Chevrolet does well. Sometimes it's Ram, which is now Fiat Chrysler Corporation. So, I don't really get too tied into which brand as much as I'm tied into what's happening where and who is providing the best resources to make sure that we can be successful. Really not. I do have favorites, personal, just like the design cues. I like the 12-inch screen in the Ram truck, but I also like the big, bold, new GMC products that they build. So, and from the Ford side, I like their heavy trucks, the big trucks. The bag. Yes.
Yeah, that's very interesting. What are the challenges for you in this business?
Communication, making sure that I'm equipped to know what exactly the customer has. First, they don't want to do business with you. Then they do want to do business with you. Then it becomes I don't know what the right word to use is. I have to be in a position where if I tell somebody something, I'm accurate to the best of my ability. Everybody's human, and we make mistakes, and we try to do things faster than we necessarily can. But at the same time, you want to be able to tell somebody accurately that the truck will be delivered on such a date, such date within a range, and then also whatever to make sure that we're being treated fairly both by the customer and that we're treating the customer fairly. And so that's a balancing act that everybody has to do, not just me. And so we try to find ways to what they call have a win-win scenario where everybody is involved in the process. It's a win for them. And so it's a team building exercise that helps us to do a better job, keep refining the product and making things better, better for everybody.
Perfect.
Safer.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Eric.
Safer is one of the main objectives, to make sure that products are safe, that that we're transitioning towards sustainable programs that are good for our country, good for our world, and good for overall development.
Yeah. So, how do you build relationships with the other manufacturers, with the other agents, and are these relationships important?
They're vitally important. So you build the relationships. In my case, I've worked with most of them. So there's not many converters left in the United States that I haven't, in my particular area, either worked for or sold against or met. And so at some point, as you transition, you age, you become older. And when I was younger, I wanted to be the best at everything. And when you wanted to make sure that we're the only game in town, but the older you get, the more you realize that you need competitors and you need to help them. And so the younger people that work in other departments and other agencies, I help. And sometimes if I can't build something, I'll just tell a customer, listen, I don't do that, but this company does. So, this is somebody, and I build relationships with people that I trust at the company, and then it works. It's a quid pro quo. So if I have a service issue that they can fix, and a customer calls me and says, can you help me with, then I'll tell them who to call. And because you're able to maintain relationships, to be a mediator between the company that you no longer work for, or a company that you never worked for, and a customer that has a problem, then they trust you. And so when you do that consistently, you gain a reputation for being somebody that's fair. And it's a process that takes somebody that has experience. You can't do it usually overnight. It takes time, because you have to build a relationship. You have to build trust, and trust can easily be broken. So we have a opportunity towards the end of our career to be a liaison that helps companies, not just the company that you work for, but other companies that compete against, to be a fair competitor, but also to be a person that helps them in certain aspects of their business. I'm not giving anybody any business, I can assure you, but at the same time, if something I don't build and something I don't want to build, and I know they do a good job, I'll say, hey, this is a company that does a good job. This is the guy you should call. This is the reason why. Because you're telling them from a position of humility, that, it isn't that I can't do that. I can do it. I just don't want to. And these are the reasons why. But if that's what you really want, and this is all, and these are the reasons why. They trust you. It makes sense.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Simple.
Yeah. How do you build a big list of customers for your business?
I depend on referrals now at this point, and I have because we have the information age, everything's at your fingertips. You can Google and find new business, and we have websites and we have pictures. I take a lot of pictures and I keep them, and so I will show products. A lot of times I'm selling products that aren't even on our website yet, so I'm ahead of the curve. I see products all the time that nobody advertises. So I tell guys all the time that the company that makes the best product necessarily doesn't always win. They don't do a good job of marketing. And so you have to balance what it is you can do versus what you think is cool. Every year we go to that they call here SEMA, which is Specialty Equipment Manufacturers Association. They'll have all the coolest. That's the alarm to call you. They'll have all the coolest things, but those are one-off builds, and you got to explain to a customer that truck that you're looking at was built by a company that took an entire year to build it. So I can't produce that for you, because I can't mass manufacture. So it's not profitable for me to build one truck a year, and it's not smart to have everybody stuck doing one program. So the reality is that we have an obligation to try to build as many vehicles as we can that are kind of what's the right word? In other words, we want to standardize our build forms. We want to standardize what we do so that we produce a certain number of vehicles that are limited. And then we also want to reserve a part of our business for the customization that the owner wants to do. And ultimately, it's not my decision, any of it, because I'm not the owner. I'm the director. And so we try to find a balance between what it is what's best for the employees and what's best for the owners and what's best for the customer. That all has to balance itself out somehow. That's can be tricky, but at the same time, if you can make it work, nothing more. You have success, and when people say it's easy, well, it looks easy when it's done properly, but it's not easy. The balancing act.
Yeah, that's so interesting. How competitive is the automobile market?
Extremely competitive. So everybody, you're having more and more pressure on the industry because you have other ways of transportation. You have, you look at other, what's right, some of the terminology. So you have, autonomous cars now. You have electric cars. You have hydrogen-powered cars. You have, so the motive, the engine that runs vehicles is changing, and so how much market share, or how much, the right word, it isn't even market share. It's how much resources do you want to devote to the old trucks? How much resources do you want to devote to the new stuff? Is the new stuff that's out there viable? Is it long term? Is it going to be something that's going to work the way vehicles we presently build worked? Still going to have the same functionality? Those are questions that have to be answered through time. So we have, once again, two functions in our departments, where we have a company that builds some really cool stuff that's futuristic, but they don't build a lot of it, and they have high valuations based on potential. And then we have companies that have been doing this for a long time and have very small margins, but they produce a lot of vehicles, and the vehicles work, and they've stood the test of time, and they haul equipment in the back, or you're able to go to the store and get whatever you need to fill the back of it up. So until those new technologies meet the requirements of what's needed, you have that competitive, I don't know what the right word is for it. So there's a division between, what we can do and how fast we do it, how fast we get there. So.
Yeah, great. Let's move to another area of your work. How do you build your marketing plan?
We.
Yeah.
Where'd
So
you
can you
go?
repeat the question, Eric?
Yeah. So I lost you. There you go.
Yeah.
So the marketing plan is something that we sit down as a group. We talked about it today. So we try to get everybody on the same page, and we say, I got to take this call. Part of the process is to make sure that customers are happy. And part of that process is sometimes we have vehicles that we have to produce them in a timely manner. And then we do transfers back and forth between customers. A big part of my job is just making sure that I have access to the decision maker. So what happens now, if you don't have access to the decision maker, and you're calling a switchboard, I think all the time the reason I'm successful is because I can talk to the people who make the decisions. So if you're calling switchboards today, it's like getting to the buyer is very difficult. So it's pretty funny. Sometimes we laugh in the United States about things that we really shouldn't laugh at. But some of these hired kids before, and they call up and ask for a person, I'll be like, I've been calling that store for 10 years and I never got them on the phone. They're calling them on the phone. You never know, but ultimately, it's easier if you have been doing it a while and don't get stuck into mental blocks and traps about the way the systems work. Because what worked in the past won't work in the future, and what will work in the future won't work in the past. So we have to create systems that endure, that are resilient, and we have to have partners that we can trust to do what they say they'll do. It's really that simple. So the product isn't as important as the people that build the product and distribute the product. At this point, it really could sell just about anything. But you want to be where you're happy. You want to be where you can do the best job. So, and right now that's here for me. So Techstar is a company, some more background. One time we built different iteration of the company, built all the Tahoes and Suburbans that came out of Arlington Assembly Plant in Texas. We put parts and pieces on in a different plant. And then after the financial reset, lost that contract. Of course, I didn't work for Techstar then. I was a top salesman for a different company that was acquired by a version of it. Anyway, it's a long story, but the long-term advantages of staying with a company and continuing to try to help customers. I get calls even now for stuff that I don't just say, hey, listen, I don't have anything to do with that anymore. I say, listen, let me see if I can help you. And I'll try to call. For a long time, I could give them a number for people in Detroit, I think it was, that had parts and pieces for that truck that they bought, even though I didn't work there at the time. And so when somebody calls, I try to help them no matter whether I'm going to make a profit from it or not. So in other words, if they bought the product and it had a company's name on it that I sold at some point in my career, it's my job to try to help them. I can't always do that, but sometimes I can. And if I do, then people remember it. If you went out of your way to help them, they don't forget. So that's the key to what I do. It's not I'd love to say it's magic or something. It's not something I do personally. It's not. It's a process I was taught. It's the golden rule. It's treat people how you want to be treated. It's be a professional. Try as best you can to do what you say. It's really simple. So the product is secondary, but it's also very important. It's got to be a good product. Otherwise, I can't sell it because for all the reasons I just explained. We ultimately have a job to do, and the job is to be better, to help each other.
Yeah, that's so touching and so insightful. What did you learn about the people throughout your career?
That we're all the same, that we all want the same things. We all want our kids to be successful, most of us. Some people out there that don't care, I guess, but we all put our preference on the same. There's nobody different than me. There's nobody different than you. Generally, we want what's best for other people. We find the most success in life when we try to find like-minded people. There's people in the world that maybe don't care. I don't know. It's not my business to know what other people. I just know somebody's helping me towards my goal, and I'm going to help them towards their goal. Famous American motivational guy that I listened to when I was a kid named Zig Ziglar. And he said, if you help enough people get what they want out of life, you'll always get what you want. I think that's true. So we at some point realized that if we help enough people and stop trying to take care of ourselves first, that we'll be able to help other people. We'll be able to help ourselves. So that's huge. It takes a while. It's a shame it took me so long to figure that out, but you do figure it out. And I feel blessed to be here, and it's a good job. And I plan to be doing it for 10 or 15 more years. So it's really that simple.
Yeah. The next question is, what recommendations do you have for others who want to start a similar kind of business?
No, that's a funny one. So the joke in the industry is if you want to make $1 million in the conversion industry, start with 10. In other words, be ready to be prepared to lose in the beginning, because that's what it takes. So the industry that I'm in is I think the tail end of what we long term. You're going to have to keep changing and keep changing and keep changing. So be prepared for change because it's coming. It's inevitable. So it's almost like we're at the back end of the curve. So the reality is that I see products on the horizon that are newer, that are maybe potentially nicer, but we're not sure until we get there. In the interim, we have to make sure that we build good products with the stuff that I'm doing. In the automotive industry, I guess it comes with age. You get set in your ways and you want things to be a certain way, but the reality is they don't stay that way. So I thought I had a cool truck 10 years ago. Now you can still go buy that truck and put it in a museum. It doesn't make a lot of sense to drive it around. But there's always going to be a market for them too. So for the niche markets, finding ways to make sure that we have parts available. We're continuing to provide that product. And then the most important thing that we do is to stay current with what's currently being built and find ways to improve that product. There'll literally be a test bed for the manufacturer to try things that they wouldn't otherwise do. So my success and my career is based upon small run where they want to build 1,000 vehicles instead of 50,000. They don't think there's a market for it. That's the career success.
What do you want to change in the minds of your customers, and what do you want to change in the industry at large?
But the industry at large, I think we need to continue to grow, less competition with each other, find ways to, what you asked, George, I wish we were all 55 years old. Some of us are, some of us are. They also, it's not even about age as much as about maturity level and finding ways to help each other. Instead of being, when I started doing this, I was, I guess, 22 or 23. We had a war room. The war room was full of people, and their job was to put these other companies out of business. Well, we did a really good job of that. Put other companies out of business. That's not the way to do business properly. Today, because there's so few of us left, it makes sense to cooperate. We don't, at the same time, we don't want to cooperate too much because we want to compete. We want to make sure we're better. So, but at the same time, like if they build 3,500s, I'm going to build 4,500s. If they build, I'm going to build something different. I don't want to build the same product and beat each other's heads over. You know, it just doesn't make sense anymore to keep building the same thing, especially when there's so much variation. It used to be at one time there wasn't a lot of variation, and we were the variation, and now there's more products. So we're not really the variation anymore. The variation's in the different engines, like I was talking about. And I'm not doing electric stuff or hydrogen, which we have in the past, hydrogen fuel cell, other means of transport.
What else would you like to say?
Just thank you for the opportunity to meet you. And I'm sorry that first one didn't come out very well. I've been pretty busy and trying to get organized because of all the, I'm sure you read in the paper the same as we do here. So I had to turn the television off and just focus on what's important, which was the job, and then going out and meeting people and helping them through this process. And we're waiting to get back to normal. Some whatever normal is. We want to be able to do our job and provide a service that is needed. So it's really just helping lead whatever I'm assigned to do, I'm going to do, help others and to make sure the company is viable. That's all.
It has been perfect talking to you, Eric. I really appreciate your help and I really appreciate your time. And thank you so much for this informative input.
Thank you.